Listen to me, there's a way of thinking, a pattern of mindset that once you lock into it, life stops happening to you and starts happening for you. It's not hype. It's not fluff. It's real. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to think like T-Ice and watch the entire world bend at your will. Pause. Look around. Let the silence speak. You want money, power, peace, relationships. You want to lead, not follow. Then you've got to rewire how you think. Because the world doesn't respond to hope. The world responds to certainty. Let's go. Let me tell you something that might rattle your soul a bit. You are not a product of your environment, your circumstances, or your past. You are a product of your decisions. You, and only you, are the architect of your reality. That's not just a motivational slogan. That's a law. Just like gravity. You see, most people walk through life like passengers. They wait for someone else to drive. They wait for the perfect opportunity, the perfect partner, the perfect job. Let me ask you something. How often does life deliver perfect right into your lap? Rarely, maybe never. Because life isn't designed to hand you your destiny. It's designed to respond to how you should go, UP. Think about this. Two people grow up in the same neighborhood, same income level, same school, same everything. One of them ends up stuck in a job they hate, blaming the government, their parents, the system. The other builds a business, travels the world, inspires people, and lives fully alive. What's the difference? It's not luck, it's not DNA, it's not privilege, it's focus, it's mindset, it's ownership. The second person realized, hey, no one's coming to save me. If I want more, I've got to become more. Let me make this real. Picture someone working a 9-to-5 job they despise. They wake up groaning. They hit snooze 3 times. They drag themselves through the day. They complain about their boss, the weather, the traffic. Then they go home, numb themselves with Netflix, scroll endlessly through social media, and repeat it all the next day. They've given up the driver's seat of their life. They become passengers in their own damn car. Now contrast that with someone who says, I'm not happy here, I'm grateful, but I'm not fulfilled. So I'm going to spend 30 minutes every day learning a new skill. Wake up an hour earlier to invest in myself. I'm going to find mentors, not excuses. I'm going to move with purpose, not pity. Same job, same salary, same world. Wildly different trajectory because one person took ownership. This is the shift that will change everything for you. When you stop waiting for external change and start creating internal shifts. When you say, no matter what happens out there, I decide what it means. I decide what I do with it. And let me tell you, that kind of thinking is dangerous in the best possible way. Because once you realize you're the architect, no more blaming, no more excuses. You start designing, you start creating, you start breaking through limits you didn't even know you had. Listen, I grew up watching people I love suffer because they believed their circumstances were permanent. They thought struggle was their identity. They thought success was for other people. But one day I decided, GH, I'm going to think differently. I'm going to act like I'm the one writing the script here. Guess what? Everything started changing. Not instantly, but gradually, relentlessly, and permanently. Think of your brain like a GPS. If you don't plug in the destination, it doesn't know where to take you. It just keeps rerouting you back to where you are. But once you program a new destination with clarity, emotion, and certainty, everything starts aligning. That's not magic. That's focus. That's neuroassociation. That's how our brains are wired. And I get it. Life throws curveballs. Heartbreak, financial disaster. That's real. That hurts. But here's what's even more powerful than what happens to you, what you do about it. Viktor Frankl survived the Holocaust, said it best. Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. So yes, you might not control every event, but you control the meaning you give it, and that meaning creates your emotional state. And your emotional state determines your actions, and your actions create your reality. That's the chain. That's the formula. That's how ordinary people do extraordinary things. Want a simple practice? Every morning, ask yourself, what am I focusing on? What does it mean? What am I going to do about it? Focus. Meaning, action. That's how you step back into the architect's chair. The world won't bend for people who blame. It bends for the ones who build. The ones who say, no matter what happens outside me, I will create what I want inside me. That energy, that intention, that mindset, it's magnetic. People feel it. Opportunities flow to it. The universe responds to it. So don't wait for permission. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for your situation to change. Start designing it brick by brick, belief by belief, habit by habit. You have the tools. You just need to use them. And when you do, when you finally realize that you are the architect of your reality, nothing and no one can ever make you small again. You don't need the world to change. You just need to take the wheel. And once you do that, the road rises to meet you, and the world bends There's a force more powerful than talent, more attractive than beauty, more persuasive than intelligence. And that force is certainty. When you walk into a room with unshakable certainty, people feel it. It's invisible, but it hits like thunder. The truth is, doesn't follow the smartest person in the room. It follows the most certain one. Now let me break this down. Most people walk through life unsure of what they want, unsure of who they are, unsure if they're good enough. And guess what that uncertainty does? It repels opportunity. It drives away momentum. It sends a signal to the world. I don't fully believe in myself, so why should you? But when someone shows up with certainty, even if they don't have all the answers, even if they're still learning, that energy pulls people in. It commands attention. It builds trust. Because people don't follow facts, they follow feelings. And certainty is a feeling that cuts through the noise. Let me give you a real example. Imagine you're at a restaurant with two servers. The first one comes up and says, hi. So I think today we might have the chicken special. I'm not sure if it's still available though. Let me go ask the kitchen. You don't feel taken care of. You feel unsure. Now imagine the second one walks up, looks you in the eye and says, welcome, you're in for a treat today. Our grilled lemon herb chicken is the star of the menu. It's bold, it's juicy, and it sells out fast. I highly recommend it. Guess what? You don't even like chicken, but suddenly you're ordering it. Why? Certainty. This principle works in every area of your life. In business, clients don't buy the product, they buy your confidence in it. In relationships, people are drawn to partners who know who they are and what they want. In leadership, teams don't follow titles. They follow leaders who radiate certainty, especially in uncertain times. And let me be clear, I'm not talking about arrogance. I'm not talking about pretending to know everything. Certainty is not about perfection. It's about presence. It's about showing up with energy that says, I may not know everything, but I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. Think about someone like Elon Musk. He makes bold, even outrageous predictions about colonizing Mars, building tunnels under cities, changing transportation forever. People used to laugh at him. But the reason investors kept showing up, employees kept pushing through impossible deadlines, but fans kept believing was because of his certainty, his ability to speak a vision and back it with massive conviction. The same can happen in your life. But here's the key. Certainty isn't given, it's created. It's created. You don't wait until you feel confident. You decide to be certain. It's a mental muscle. And just like in the gym, the more you train it, the stronger it gets. You train it by keeping your promises to yourself, by setting a standard and refusing to lower it, by walking into every moment with the belief, I was built for this. Here's another example. Imagine you're at a job interview. Two candidates walk in. The first one says, well, I think I'm a good fit. I hope I can meet your expectations. I've worked hard, but there's still a lot I'm learning. The second says, I've done my homework on your company. I know the challenges you're facing, and I've already thought about 5 ways I can create value from day one. If you're looking for someone who can solve problems, take initiative, bring relentless energy, I'm your person. Even if both have the same RA Some, who do you think gets hired? The one who speaks with certainty. Let me say something loud and clear. You don't need more credentials, you need more conviction. And that conviction doesn't come from your environment. It comes from within. It's a choice, it's a habit. You build it every time you step into discomfort and come out stronger. Every time you face fear and still move forward. Every time you fall, get back up like it never happened. That's how you cultivate the kind of certainty that makes people say, I don't know what it is about you, but I want to follow you. The world is noisy. Everyone's selling something. Everyone's got an opinion, and in that chaos, searching desperately for someone who knows who they are and where they're going, be that person, not just for others, for yourself. Because the moment you embody certainty, the world begins to rearrange itself around you. Doors open, eyes turn. Leaders listen, and all of a sudden, you're not chasing things, things start chasing you. So ask yourself right now, where in your life are you playing small because you're uncertain? Where are you hesitating when you should be declaring? Where are you shrinking when you should be standing? Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting until you feel ready. Decide now, in this moment, that you will lead with certainty. Speak with certainty, move with certainty. Because it's easy, but because it's effective. Because that energy is magnetic. And the world bends for the person who walks through it like they belong. You want to bend reality? Start by believing in your voice, your vision, and your value with unshakable certainty, and watch what happens next. There's a voice inside your head right now. You know it. It's that whisper that creeps in when you're about to take a bold step. It says, you're not ready. You're not good enough. Who do you think you are? That voice isn't coming from the world, it's coming from you. And if you don't learn to silence it, to kill the inner critic, it will sabotage your greatness before it ever gets to breathe. But here's the twist. You're not born with that voice. It's installed, it's downloaded from 1,000 small moments. A teacher who told you to stop dreaming. A parent who made you feel like second place. A boss who only noticed your mistakes. A rejection that hurt so bad it echoed into your self-image. Over time, that voice becomes familiar and tragically believable. But let me tell you something that could change your life if you let it sink in. That voice is not the truth. It's just noise. It's static from your past playing over your present. And the more you listen to it, the more it takes root, until eventually you stop trying, you stop speaking up, you stop stepping out, you play small, you lower your standards, you settle. But guess what? There's another voice inside you too. One that's quieter at first, one that doesn't scream but it burns. That voice is your inner gladiator. It's the part of you that remembers who you were before the world told you who to be. It's the part of you that doesn't just want to survive, it wants to dominate, it wants to build, to conquer, to rise. The problem is, most people feed the critic and starve the gladiator. They give all their attention, their focus, their belief to the negative voice. And what you feed grows. You've got to reverse that. You've got to starve the critic and feed the gladiator. Let me give you a daily life example. You wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror. The critic says, look at those bags under your eyes. You look exhausted. You're behind on everything. The gladiator. It says, get up, suit up, show up. You've got something to fight for. Which one do you listen to? You're in a meeting and you have an idea, something bold. The critic says, don't say that. What if it sounds dumb? The gladiator says, speak it, own it. You're here for a reason. Which one wins? You want to start a business or leave that job or move to another city? The critic says, that's too risky. You'll fail. The gladiator says, you were built for more. You're not running from something. You're running to your destiny. Which one do you obey? Here's the truth. You don't become unstoppable by eliminating fear. You become unstoppable by choosing which voice to follow. Fear will always be there, but the gladiator learns to move with it. Let me tell you about Sarah, a single mom of two who wanted to start her own online business. Every night after putting her kids to sleep, she'd sit at her computer, hands shaking, wondering if she had what it takes. And every night the critic showed up. You're too old for this. No one will take you seriously. What if you fail and your kids suffer? But then one night, she wrote something on a post-it and stuck it to her screen. It said, my kids are watching how I fight. Boom, just like that, the gladiator woke up. She started recording videos, writing content, getting clients. She was scared, but she was certain about her why, and that was enough. Now she's running a 6-figure business from home. Her kids think their mom is a superhero, not because she was perfect, but because she stopped listening to the critic and started feeding the fire. So how do you do that? You start small. Every day you practice catching the critic and flipping the script. When it says, I can't do this, you say, maybe not yet. When it says, I always mess things up, you say, no, I'm growing through every experience. When it says, what if I fail? You say, then I'll rise again stronger. Every champion was once a contender who refused to quit. You start speaking to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love. With power, with patience, with purpose. Because at the end of the day, the loudest voice in your life should be your own, not the critic that's rooted in fear, the gladiator that's fueled by faith, in your potential, in your resilience, in your ability to figure it out no matter what. You are not your thoughts. You are the thinker. You're the force behind it. And the moment you stop giving the critic the mic and start handing it to the gladiator, your life will change. Not slowly. The critic builds a cage. The gladiator breaks the walls. The critic limits your voice. The gladiator turns it into a war cry. The critic sees problems. The gladiator sees purpose. So next time you hear that voice saying, you can't, stand up taller and reply, watch me. Let's get one thing straight. Pain is your invitation. Your signal, your wake-up call. Most people spend their entire lives trying from it, numbing it, pretending it doesn't exist. But the people who grow, people who rise, the people who truly bend the world, they're something radically different. They use pain. It's easy to look at pain as punishment. You get rejected, and it stings. You fail at something big, and it feels like we're punched you in the gut. You lose someone or something important, and it's like a piece of your identity is ripped away. And in those moments, you have a choose or rise, blame or build. That's where the shift begins. Because pain in itself isn't the problem. It's what you do with that defy you a story. There's a man named Eric Thomas, a high school dropout homeless eating out of trash cans. He had every reason to give up, every excuse. One day, lying on the floor of an abandoned building, cold and hungry, he made a decision. I'm going to use this. I'm going to let this pain fuel me. I will let it build me. That man went earn a PhD, become one of the most powerful motivative and change millions of lives. Not because life got easier, but because he got stronger. Pain is a signal that something must show to Jim. When your muscles burn during a workout, that's pain. But it's also progress. It's your body adapting, strengthening. Without that, discommon growth. So why do we treat emotional or mental pain differently? Every painful moment in your life, the heartbreak, the betrayal, the failure, the silence, where all of that was a gift, a brutal, beautiful gift, because it gave you depth, it gave you grit, it gave you something no book or degree or give her a reason to fight. Imagine someone who loses their job unexpectedly. At first, it feels like the world collapsed. They panic, they doubt, they spiral, but maybe that pain opens a door. Maybe it pushes them to finally start the business they always dreamed about. Maybe it forces them to discover shred they had. Maybe it teaches them how to stand alone, how to rely on their own power instead of external validation. And that pain is the seed of It can be your prison or it can be your platform. Think of every hero you've ever admired. Nelson Mandela, Malala Yousafzai, Oprah Winfrey. Don't go to where they are because life was easy, no. They got there because pain introduced them to purpose. Every wound became a window. Every story changed the world. The problem today is we've become soft with ourselves. We want comfort more than we want greatness. We chase ease more than we chase excellence. Comfort never created warriors. Comfort never built empires. Comfort never wrote history. Pain did. I want you to think about a time you were chorehouse self. Not just happy, proud. Maybe it was graduating when no one thought you could. Maybe it was walking away from a toxic relationship. Maybe it was speaking your truth when your voice was shaking. Whatever it was, I promise you, pain was present. That fire, that resistance, that adversity. It's sharp fear, pain. You need to assign it purpose. Ask yourself, what is this pain here to teach me? What strength is it unlocking? What story would I tell because I survived this? That's how you flip the script. That's how you stop being the victim of our life. Here's something powerful. Pain will change you. No way around it, but whether it changes you for better or for bitter, up to you. Use pain as fuel. Let it power your mission. Let it light the fire that average me when life gets hard. And it will. Don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I build from this? You have scars, you've like armor, you've been knocked down. Perfect. Get up stronger, louder, clearer. Because every time you rise, you tell the world, you can't break, so you'll fire. The next time you feel pain, emotional, physical, mental, don't run from it. Lean into it, because inside that discomfort is the edge. Start who you were and start becoming who you're meant to be. It's not your punishment. It's your path. It's your power. Use it. And the world, when just notice it, will respect you. Seriously. Ask yourself that. But tell your social media bio, your family roles. Forget what the world calls you. I'm asking, who are you at your core? Because here's the truth that most people hold, outperform that you hold in your mind. It doesn't matter what your goals are, what your plans are, or how much you hustle. If you're interim average, your results will stay average. If deep down you believe, I'm not leave, every breakthrough. That's not a weakness, that's programming. You don't get what you want in life. May you get what you believe you are. Let's people are trying to get healthy. They both start diets, go to the gym, and track their meals. One person says, I'm trying to lose weight. The other swear other person, I take care of my body. See the difference? One is acting outside their identity. The other is acting from their identity's it when it gets hard. Guess who shows up when motivation dies? Maybe it's the one whose identity supports the one you're relying on willpower. Your identity creates your standards, and your standards create your habits. So if you want to bend the world, if you create real change, you must become ferociously intentional about upgrading your identity. Think about someone like Muhammad, a teenager, still unknown to the world, still far from the boxing legend he became, of cameras, and shouted, I am the greats. People laughed. Critics mocked him. But you know what he was doing? He was speaking his identity into reals did. And because he believed it. He trained like it, fought like, walked like it. And eventually, the world had no choice to believe but to be ally to do that. You just need to be bold enough to rewrite your internal script. Most people live in an identity that was handed them by their parents, their environment, their past, or their failures. Maybe someone told you when you were young, you're not smart, or you're too quiet. Just don't do things like that. And without even realizing it, that voice became your belief system. But just because that voice was that, maybe you failed a few times, and now you wear the identity of, or you've been through heartbreak, and now you carry the story, I'm hard to love. Maybe you've been a predator, a people pleaser, a screw up, and you accepted it. But what if I told you that those aren't facts? Maybe just rehearsed thoughts, and they became part of how you see yourself. But you can change that starting right now. Identity is not fixed. It's flexible. It's preamble. Stronger I need to become to live the life I want. How does that person think, act, walk, speak? If I already was that version of me, you don't need an external validation to claim a new identity. You need alignment between what you say, what you do, and what you believe. Let's story a young woman who spent her 20s stuck in toxic relationships, doubting her self-worth, constantly chasing approval. She believed love was for other people, not her. But then one day she heard someone say, you teach people how to treat you by how you are like lightning. She realized her identity wasn't broken. It was borrowed. So she did something radical. She didn't just go to therapy or repeat a day and repeat a new identity. I am powerful. I am lovable. At first, it felt fake. But over time, her beliefs started choosing different people. She started building boundaries. She became the version of herself she thought easier. Not because life got easier, but because her identity rose. You have that same power. Write this down. Maybe your identity sets the thermostat is set to mediocre. Even when you get a taste of success, maybe you'll find a way to bring yourself to hesitate. If you reset it to unstoppable, you'll wait or you'll rise to meet it every single time. So today, stop asking what you need to do. That's the real work. That's the game changer. Because once you shift your identity, everything else follows. Every habit results your impact. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not what they said you were. You are who you decide to be right now. Once you believe that, the world bends. You want to change your life? Don't start your habits. Start by changing your environment. The truth is this. Who you surround, you sharpen your edge or dull your blade. Proximity is power. It's one of the most underestimated forces in the world, and yet it is one of the most predictive of the world in your favor. You must become radically intentional about who gets to influence your thoughts, energy, and standards. Let's be honest. You heard it are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And yet, most people keep walking through life through excuses and mediocrity, wondering why they feel stuck. Here's why you cannot fly like an eagle when you eek about it. Think about it. If you hang around people who complain all the time, you'll start to see life as something to master. If you're surrounded by people who settle, you'll slowly lower your standard. And here's the flip side. If you put yourself in rooms with people who are dreaming bigger, thinking sharper, moving faster, if you level up automatically and they force you to, but because their energy, their vision, their hunger, it rubs off on you. Let me give you a real life example. Imagine Jordan. Chris spends most of his time with old high school buddies who still live for the weekend. They talk about how nothing ever changes. Jordan laughs at anyone chasing something bigger. Jordan, on the other hand, joins a local entrepreneur group. He's the least experienced one in the room, the most nervous, but every time he leaves those meetings, he's buzzing, inspired, charged. In 6 months, Chris is still complaining about his boy, a side-to-side hustle, and wakes up early with purpose. What's the difference? Not intelligence, not luck, not background, just proximity. The people you surround, thermostats, they set the emotional temperature of your life. You hang out with people who expect yourselves. You'll start expecting more from yourself. You spend time with people who normalize quitting. Suddenly, quitting feels okay. The shift is more time. It it compounds. And it's not just about success. It's about energy. Have you ever been around someone who holds them a room, who finds a problem for every solution? That's contagious. And so is enthusiasm. So is courage. So is belief. You have to protect your mental space because it does. You want a better mindset. Get around people who speak life, not doubt. You want to be more disciplined. Spend time with your goals like non-negotiables. You want to dream bigger. Find the people who will challenge you to stretch, to grow, to go one level higher, even when you think, let me tell you something that might sting. Sometimes the people closest to you aren't good for you, not because they're bad, but because they love you, but they're projecting their fear onto your future. They're comfortable where they are, so they feel threatened when you start doing them evil. It just makes them unqualified to coach your potential. You've got to make a decision. Do I want to stay familiar, or do I want to change? Getting free means outgrowing old circles. It means seeking mentors who intimidate you. It means entering rooms where you're most accomplished person and being okay with that. In fact, being excited about that, because when you're in proximity to butt rise, you absorb it. You start thinking, if they can do it, why not me? You learn faster. You stop making excuses. You shift the power of proximity. It's like standing next to a fire. You don't have to touch it to feel the heat. Just being near it warms you. So ask your right now, who's lighting you up, pushing you forward, calling out the best in you, and who's pouring water on your spark. This is about elevation. You can love people and still choose to grow past them. You can care for someone and still protect their access to your inner world. Your tribe will either challenge your limits or celebrate your excuses. Choose wisely. And if you don't have the right people around yet, go fam. Join a mastermind, go to seminar, volunteer. Start conversations with people doing what you dream about. Because when you change your circle, use one shift, just this one, can catapult you from average to extraordinary. Because proximity isn't just powering you around greatness. You give yourself permission to rise to it. So raise your standards, raise your energy, and raise your circle. Because in the end, if people will either limit your vision or launch it. Words are not just sounds. They're not just your letters. They're forces. They are tools of creation. What you speak, you shape. What you declare, you attract. And what you repeatedly say to yourself in the environment you live in. That's not just motivation. That's truth. You want to bend the world in your favor. It starts with what comes out of your entire identity, your beliefs, your decisions, and your habits. They all flow from the language you use. Language isn't just communication. It's describe your reality. They define it. Let's get real. How many times have you said something like, I'm just not good with money. I'm not relationships. I'm not a people person. It's just not in my DNA to be successful. Those sound harmless, but every time you say them, you're laying another brick in the foundation of a belief that limits you. And what you believe, you live. Let me give you a real life scenario. I'm going to a gym. One says, I have to work out today. The other says, I get to work out today. Same action, completely different energy. The first in short, the second one sees it as a privilege. Over time, that tiny language shift can mean a bird breakthrough. One stays stuck in obligation. The other moves in opportunity. Words shift mindset. And mindset, someone faces failure. They can say, I'm a failure, or they can say, that didn't work out. But I learned it becomes a label. The other becomes a lesson. Labels trap you. Lessons grow you. And the difference is only a few words. A dialogue, because that's where the real war is won. Most people are bullies to themselves. They say things to their own reflection, their own never say to a friend. You're so dumb. You always screw this up. You'll never be enough. And they think it's harmless because it's just thoughts. But those thoughts become words. Maybe it was your own, and those words become identity. If you tell yourself you're broken long enough, you'll start to walk like you're broken, love broken, lead like you're broken. And eventually, the world tree truth most people don't want to face. But there's good news. You can flip the script. Starting right now, you can use your words to prophesy your power and see it, your pain. Instead of saying, I'm in bad money to master my finances. Instead of, I always mess things up, say, I'm learning from every experience. Instead of, I'm not confident, Say, I'm building my confidence every day. This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about leading yourself. Your words are proof of the life you're building, not a description of the life you're escaping. Do you know why some people become so like they are long before the world sees it? They declare their victory before they've even fought the battle. Maybe that was not arrogance, that's alignment. That's Alina Williams. Before she became the greatest, she used to say things like, I am the best, I will win. I train like a champion. She was declaring where she was going. And that's how champions think. That's how they talk. Because they understand words are the corrections. Let me tell you about a man named Tony, not Tony Robbins.
Another Tony.
He grew up in a rough neighborhood, surrounded by crime, doubt, and limitation. They spoke words of fear. You'll never make it out. You'll went on. But Tony made a decision. He would speak differently. He would tell himself, I was born to rise. I'm the one who changes the game. I'm the environment, the product of my vision. And guess why, folks? He built a business. He became the leader his younger self needed. It's not reserved for special people. It's inside you too. But it starts with your language. Start catching yourself. Notice the subtle ways you sabotage. You say, don't say, I'm overwhelmed. Say, I'm challenged, but I'm capable. Don't say, this is the worst day ever. Say, I won't break me. Watch how your energy changes. Your body reacts. Your momentum builds. Because here's the bottom lining, you're either planting weeds or planting trees. Words of fear plant weeds of doubt. Words of faith plant trees of destiny, power. Speak life. Speak vision. Speak with the voice of someone who knew. Even when they're in the mud. Because the world bends not for the viction, one who speaks with conviction, with clarity, and with courage. Your words are your want. Wield them wisely and watch your world transform. In a world that's screaming for your actions, are fighting for every second of your focus, there's one thing that separates those who are buried by them: clarity. Clarity is not a luxury. It's not a nice to have. Every bold move, every unstoppable transformation. Because when you know exactly where, no storm can shake you. Jaws is everywhere. It shows up in your calendar, in your relationships, in your mind. You wake up and your phone is all read headlines, tasks. You're running, answering, reacting. And by 3 p.m., you're exhausted, wondering, what did I even do today? Sour, lazy, or unmotivated. It's because you don't have clarity. And without clarity, even the strongest warrior can waste their wrong direction. Let's bring it home with a real-world example. Imagine two people in the middle of a thick forest. One has a compass, a map, and a clue to map. Just no clue they're going, just walking, hoping it leads somewhere good. Who do you think gets out faster? Who stays calm when night falls? Who is the innery? Now imagine your life is that forest. Every goal, every challenge, every decision you face, they're all trees. If you don't know your destination, every distraction looks like an opportunity. Every detour becomes a disaster. But when you've got clarity, you cut through the noise, you move with precision doesn't serve you, and you say hell yes to what does. Clarity gives you confidence, and confidence gives you speed. That's when the more part on this planet don't always have the most talent. They have most focus. They don't waste time down a drink, they adjust. They act, they adjust. And they keep moving. Let's talk about Lisa. She's a mom of 3 with a 9-to-5 job, drug her own skincare line. Every day she'd say, one day I'll do it, but one day kept her never, and someday turned into never. Until one day, she sat down with a notebook, and you quote one, you can ask her, what exactly do I want? And why does it matter to me? She got clear. She didn't just say, I want to start a business. She empowered skincare brand that empowers me to feel confident, using products I can be proud of, so my daughters can see what's purpose. Boom! Now, her actions had purpose. Her mornings had momentum. She stopped scrolling and started building, one small step at a time. In 18 months, she smalls Venus in a powerful story. What changed? Not her circumstances, her clarity. Here's something most people don't realize. It costs you time. It drains your energy. It dilutes your decisions. But clarity, it's a multiplier. When you're clear, you stop second everyone for advice. You stop chasing shiny objects hoping they'll give you purpose. Because your path is locked in. Clarity also makes you dangerous. in the best way because you become immune to the noise. Someone says you should do this and you respond, that's not in alignment with my vision. Distraction pops up and you say, no thanks, I've got a mission of findings on everything and instead focus on doing the right thing. Consistently, relentlessly. And clarity isn't just about goals. What do you value? What do you stand for? Without clarity there, you'll find yourself chef-tend yourself in the process. But with clarity, you become a force. You attract the right people. You create from a place of truth. You lead with for sure. So how do you get this kind of clarity? It starts by getting still, shut off the noise. Step away from the crowd and ask you, what do I really want? Need I be that life? What's in my life right now that doesn't align with that vision? What's one bold action I can take that's not about having every detail figured out? It's about a North Star, a direction, a decision. Because indecision is the silent killer, Orums. Clarity is the oxygen that keeps your mission alive. You don't need more hours in the day. You need more clarity in your purpose. You need step plans. You need one true intention. You don't need the approval of everyone. You need the conviction that you're walking it alone. So if you feel stuck, lost, overwhelmed, don't grind harder. Don't push blindly. Get clear. Get real. Because when your pace sharpens, quickens. When your intention deepens, your results accelerate. And when your clarity cuts through the just, listen, it will follow.